Jaden Cornelious, welcome to the Mary-Jess Meets podcast.
Hello, lovely. Thank you so much for inviting me on. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Although really,
Pleasure.
you asked me first. I was a guest on your JJ show, very excited about that. And I thought, well, brilliant. Let's get together. Let's do a podcast swap.
Absolutely. Well, only fair, really. But no, wonderful. I'm so pleased you're part of that JJ show. It's really great to be able to introduce talents like your fine self to the expat community living here in Mexico. So thank you so much for being a part of that.
Well, thank you for being here, because it's the same thing. Like, I've had fans and supporters say to me, if it weren't for your podcast, I wouldn't have discovered this artist or this artist or this artist. And especially when, I mean, we're great friends anyway. This is like a great excuse for a catch up, is what this
Just
is.
a catch up. Yeah, exactly. I always feel like I need like a cup of coffee and some McVitie's biscuits or something. But, you know, being in and I've got to say that actually, as much as I love your company, which I do to the core, it's quite nice to be here in Caribbean climates talking to you than in London talking to you.
Well, either way, right now, we'd still have to be using a computer. It's not like we can get together.
Oh, yeah, no, true that. Yeah, we don't here, actually. We're not in isolation here at the moment. So we've not been in isolation since last June, July.
Really?
Yeah, so we don't have to, we can still go out as long as we call it sana distancia, which is like a safe distance of 1.5 meters, and we wear cubrebocas, which is mouth covers. Then we can go out in public and everything is kind of new. Well, there's a reduction in how many people could be in an event, but we can still do events and everything. I'm just starting a run of 5 karaoke nights, which is going to be so much fun in April.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Really, I mean, people who will be watching this podcast for a little while, they'll know already. I grew up singing rock and pop songs with my mum at karaoke's. Like, karaoke's, I love them.
Oh, there's no excuse, sister. You've got to come out to Mexico now, really, just for that, quite frankly.
Right. You got to be careful what you say to me, though, because that's an invitation I will take up.
And I would only invite you if I was serious, darling. Don't worry. I'm very choosy who I spend my time with.
Right. As a singer, what is your karaoke song? Because you must have so many, but you can pick one. You got to have one karaoke song that you love.
Probably Snow Patrol, Chasing Cars.
Oh, good choice.
My second choice, my other firm favourite, because there is a double, would be Evanescence, Bring Me to Life. They are my two that I know I can sing and I know I'm going to pitch right.
Oh my gosh, that Evanescence, Bring Me to Life, that was the first album that I ever bought.
Oh, well, it's because you're so young and youthful and vibrant. I was listening to that walking around buying something when I was like 20-something years old, I think. So it was in a shop and it was before the days of Shazam and all that. So I was like, oh my God. So I had to hunt down the person that could get to the backstage system of, I think it was Our Price or something, and could actually find what album they were playing. It's when they first released class album, Evanescence. Oh my gosh, yeah, amazing.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. I've always grown up with that kind of music, and that actually means that my karaoke song is not the one that people would expect. Mine is Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses. That's my karaoke song.
Okay, my brother was into that, and that was, I think he must have played that. He hated me because my music taste was ABBA, Olivia Newton-John. Do you know what I mean? So I was music blasphemy for that boy. So every time Knowing Me, Knowing You would come up, Guns N' Roses was on full blast in the other room. That was it. It was like pure competition. And of course, obviously, Axl Rose has a much bigger voice than Yetta from ABBA. He would win, obviously.
That's so funny. But if you grew up with that kind of music, what was it that got you into classical crossover?
I was going through a really, really bad period of my life at the time. I'd been a pop star. I'd done everything that I wanted to do. The life was amazing. And then everything ended. And so if you see someone that's done 6 weeks of Britain's Got Talent and then they get chucked out, they're distraught. Well, I'd done pretty much probably 6 years of being a pop star, you know, and working in those circles. And for that to be finished because of one person's mistake, which wasn't mine, was horrendous. And so I left London and moved to the West Country. And I couldn't find a place to live. I had a dog. the only place I could rent was this really cold caravan in the middle of nowhere, no internet, no telephone, no nothing. So I was like, probably a good basis for my isolation over this last COVID period. Actually, now I'm used to that, I don't care. But at the time was really, really difficult. And I was on a bit of a low. And I remember one night, I was probably at my lowest. I wouldn't have ever done anything silly. But if I didn't have to wake up the next morning, that would have been a bit of a blessing, to be fair. So I remember crying for so much. And I lost my gas bottle had gone out on my heating, and it was -3. And I was freezing. So every piece of clothing I could find, I put on. And I sat in front of the TV and turned it on, and the Royal Variety performance, the Royal Variety show was on. And there were 4 handsome-looking guys singing Unbreak My Heart, which is my favourite Toni Braxton song, big Toni Braxton fan, in Spanish, the sexiest language on the planet. Was it? I can't remember the name of it, but it was Unbreak My Heart. So amazing. And it was Il Divo. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, oh my God, I need to sing this kind of stuff. So that was the thing. I literally sold all I could sell to be able to afford to get 1 half-hour opera lesson. So I got a half-hour opera lesson, managed to be able to raise a bit of money to get another two or three lessons in, recorded a demo, which was I found out, my friend told me about Josh Groban, so he was my main influence after Il Divo. Recorded a Josh Groban track, sent it to the local radio station. They were playing it every day. All of a sudden, everything went crazy. And it was To Where You Are by Josh Groban, actually. So all of a sudden, my life went crazy because I don't look, with my tattoos, like a stereotypical classical crossover chick. So, you know, all of a sudden, I'm like singing Nessun Dorma and Time to Say Goodbye, look in jeans and a t-shirt, covered in tattoos and piercings. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. But it's one of my favorite genres of music as well. You know, I like a lot of genres of music, but I like this the most because it's the most I can hear myself in, if that makes sense.
Wow. That's
love
so
Whitney, love Ariana Grande, love Celine, but I'm never going to sound like them in the whole future of Jaden Cornelious. But I can feel like I can do a song justice that Josh Groban sings or Mario Franguli, or, you know, because I can kind of be me in those songs. So that's how I got into classical crossover music.
I don't know where to start with the questions I've got from everything you just said.
Sorry. I do give you permission to say, shut up, Jaden, because I can talk. You know me, mate. You need to stop me sometimes.
No, I won't be doing that, because everything you say is always so interesting. Like, I love the fact that you found your true voice now. But it's so interesting to hear that you were at that stage in your life where you couldn't get any more gas to put the heating on and wearing all your clothes, and then it's like this ray of sunshine coming into your life and saying, this is your true voice. It found you.
Yeah.
And even in that dark place where you were, your true calling and your true voice found a way to get to you. And that's pretty amazing. I want to know, obviously, more about your life before that point, but now I want to ask you, you said things went crazy when you put that song on the radio and they were playing it all the time. What did that open up for you? What do you mean about it going crazy?
Well, all of a sudden, I hadn't sung for 7 years at this particular point because I was so disillusioned with the industry. And because one person could destroy everything I'd worked for 7 years. And you know yourself, it's not just being on stage and singing in front of your audience. It is tireless exhaustion that you have to go through in order to get to that one particular stage of 20 minutes of glamour. And even that's not particularly glamorous if you're fighting anxiety, nerves, and tiredness and all that stuff. So it's, you know, it's the people's perception of like, well, you only get up on stage and sing. Actually, no, I've been touring for 4 months. I've slept probably no more than 4 hours a night. I'm not allowed to put my head back on the seat of the car because I have spikes. And I can't get to the breakfast show in Blackpool with my spikes fan because the record company would not like that. And I can't afford a hairdresser. So I have to sleep with my head forward. So it's all these things that, you know, having to chew on bits of toilet paper because I can't put on any weight 2 days before a photo shoot. So no one sees the stuff behind what you had to go through as a pop star. in order to maintain that image that is really easy and simple and just kind of rolls off you when you're on stage or when you're in a photo shoot or video, right? So it's just been like, when I hadn't sung for 7 years, and then when this happened, it became a bit of a similar flavour to what I had when I was becoming famous. I was being played on the radio. People were phoning and requesting Jaden Cornelious to Where You Are. I was doing gigs and people were actually coming, which was amazing. And I could start a fan base, and I could start an album, and I could do this all without management, without a record company, without the restrictions and the intenseness of that whole business on my shoulders. It was just something I could do. And because when I was a pop star, there was no internet. So if you wanted people in Leeds to hear you, you had to slog it all the way to Leeds. You had to sing 3 songs in some dive-ass bar, where everyone was either drunk or eat off their face. So they're probably not going to remember you the next morning anyway, just in the hope that one person will buy your single when it comes out. Whereas now I'm in Devon, I'm on the radio. The BBC News Devon wants me to do a little spotlight documentary. I'm selling albums in Ethiopia via the internet. It's just like, oh man, this is so different to when I was, touring with famous people and going all over the world. Like, this is like it has a lot of disadvantages, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lots of negatives about the industry now. It's not as easy, but at the same time, the access to social media is phenomenal. So that's how it went crazy, but it went crazy in a controllable, different way.
And in an exciting way.
Completely, because I was in control. I didn't have bad management. I didn't have the intense pressures of a record label and the fear that, if one person says no, everything is gone. Everything you've worked for is gone on one word, or even worse, they will say, shelve them. We've got another group or another guy that's identical, but is 10 years younger, fitter, 6-pack, not as good a singer, but is going to sell more records. So let's shelve Jaden for the rest of his contract for the next 5 years, and then we'll bring this other guy out, because they can do that. That was so common back in the day, with shelving. If you were a competitor to another label's group, that label would sign you in order to stop you for the next 5 years, 10 years, however long your contract is. So now, nothing, mate. Like, I can do Facebook Lives, I can do my TV show, I can do anything from the safety of being in control and in my environment. So it's exceptionally exciting, unbelievable. Of course, hard work still, don't get me wrong, because it's you. You've got no one in your corner working on your behalf. It's you with everything, but the rewards are yours as well. When the fan says, really love that song, really love that vocal, really love that TV show, oh my God, you made me laugh on this Facebook Live. You've done that, humbling and rewarding completely.
Yeah, that's completely right. I know I've said on this podcast before, so many people just wait for the phone to ring, but really it's the opportunities that you create for yourself that are often the most rewarding. I know I've said that a few times now, but it's true. It's completely true. For me, that's a universal law. Like, nothing happens unless you place that intent, and you place, nothing will manifest unless you've placed that intent within, that manifestation. So I can sit here and I can I'm a big fan of a lot of philosophies of positive thinking and of, the energies and the way we work with energies and stuff like that. But at the same time, if I don't actually throw a seed into the ground, ain't no way that seed's going to get from the packet in my kitchen into the ground, mate. Like, I've got to put it there. I don't, and tend it. And that's what we have to do. We have to sow seeds. And as you know, as an artist, for every 1 million seeds sown, only 1.5 are going to take. But it's so worth it for that 1.5. Yeah, exactly.
Because it's what we are and who we are. We don't have a choice in this. It's what, unfortunately or fortunately, we were designed to do. I said to you, like, in the chat we had for the JJ show, was like, this is probably the least ideal job for Jaden. I don't like, so I'm a bit of a social phobe, so I'm not really good around lots of people. I'm quite shy. Singing makes me feel physically sick, and has done for 30 years in front of people. Like, it's trauma for me having to get, I can't not do it. It's like something I have to do. So, it's just, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, there's so much beauty in it, but it's not the photo shoot. It's not the beautiful £25,000, probably more now because I'm talking 90s, but you know, £25,000 video. It's not. It's the countless efforts, and you know, and it's really important. You are one of the hardest workers I know in the music industry, and complete credit and power to your sister. But you know, and I hope your fans recognise the immense work that you put in to getting your career to where it is today, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people just, you know, assume that you're just there doing what you love, skipping through your back garden every day because you know you're going to sing in 2 minutes on, you know, a 2,000 people concert. It couldn't be more different, right?
Yeah,
no.
That's right. And I mean, I've been more open, especially in the past year and a bit, about the other work that goes into being a singer. And I think that's really important when, especially in a time like this, where artists more than ever are asking for their fans to support them.
Oh my
You've got
God,
to tell them why you're asking for that support. You've got to say, I really need your help with this crowdfunding campaign because this album is going to cost me £10,000 to make. And it's not just the instrumentalists recording the music, it's paying the licenses, it's paying the royalties, it's paying for a lawyer to write up the contracts with the producers and the instrumentalists and all the other things. It's and getting them made into physical copies, and it costs money to get them onto iTunes, and then you only make like a penny back from each sale. It's just it's awful.
I'm still in debt for my first album, which was something like 2011, mate.
Exactly.
And I've made 2 since then.
It's so difficult now to make music make money. It's all the other stuff, and you've really got to be a full rounded business person to try and make the most of it. And that's why I find it most important to tell fans exactly what goes into making all of this stuff, because then when you're asking them for help, they understand why you need it.
Yeah, but you find it's quite interesting when people say, "So have you got a new album yet?" "Oh, come on, we've waited so long." You're like, "Oh my God, I'm 9 years in debt, mate, from the first one you wanted and never bought." You know, because you downloaded it on Spotify, and I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world to the perception of the people that support you. So, you know, this is a call out to all the Mary-Jess fans. Support this girl because she works her tush off to bring to you some of the most beautiful vocals on that whole green island of yours. Really amazing, mate.
Well, I try my best, and it's not only being honest with fans so they know why you're asking for help, but then it's also honesty also brings so many other blessings, because
Absolutely.
it helps them get to know you more, and it's those personal connections that really make the most to us in our lives. But also it brings the fans along in the journey of creating the music and the album. They feel like they can really be a part of it. So it does take bravery to open up about money, finances and stuff, and to be so intimate about your hopes and dreams for something that you are creating, because ultimately creations and art are so subjective. It's brave to put out art that you've created, because not everybody's going to like it, and that's
like it. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you can have that honesty with your supporters and your audience, then hopefully not only do you get a better relationship with them, but they understand why you need their help, and they come along on the journey, and you just feel like you've made this new music together, and that's just such a wonderful feeling.
I think the honesty is something that like we need to achieve with ourselves full term. That pureness, because to carry a lie and a charade is very difficult, and there's enough trauma going on at the moment without having to add to that. But nothing is easy for all of us on a personal level, whether you're an artist or whether you're not. And I think the only way we're ever going to really respect each other and love and care for each other and become more of a community, the more isolated, which is the case at the moment, is by being real with each other and saying, look, I really don't like this thing that you've done to me, or I am really moved by this thing that you've done for me. It's when we have that realness, we know how to tackle it. with the age of social media, unfortunately, people go, oh, amazing. And then all of a sudden you're slated on social media. You know, it's about being real and being raw with every single person in your life, you know. And then, and like you said, you know, being an artist as well, it's not like you're a model and you're blessed with beautiful looks. I mean, it's been very difficult to carry this burden all my life, but no, but it's like, it's, as you well know with you, darling. But so it's not like the fact that you can just stand in front of the camera and look great, you know, because, you know, that is also not always easy. But unless your genetics are completely phenomenal, which some people have that, unfortunately, lucky gifts. But because when you're singing and when you're songwriting, you are bearing your soul, you are bearing your essence, you are bearing your magic, everything that you are. So you cannot be rawer than that. So when people go, yeah, it was okay, but she's not Ariana Grande. No, she ain't, mate. And that's what makes it special, because she is Mary-Jess or he is Jaden Cornelius. And no one can do you like you do you. So it's about being that honest, about being raw and being very thoughtful about everything that we say, and everything that we do has power. So my mum's always said, if you've got nothing to say, don't say anything at all. And unfortunately, the social media is kind of like the opposite of that, you know, where it's like everyone has a right to express now, you know, what they don't like. But it's, you know, it's a bit about being real with the people, but for them to be respectful of your realness, of your vulnerability, of your, you know, your rawness with them. And if they don't like your music, that's cool. I don't think there are many people that probably love Jaden Cornelius, but I don't care, because there are some people that do, and that's all right for me, you know.
Yeah, once you find a crowd that are there for you, that support you, that's just the most wonderful feeling, because you're never going to please everyone.
No.
If you've got those people who go, you know what, I see what you're trying to do and I get it and I love it and I'm here for you on that journey, that's brilliant. That's like having your best mates in the car when you're going somewhere.
Absolutely. But that is where ignorance comes in, because a lot of people are ignorant to the feelings, the emotions, the vulnerability, the rawness that goes behind the 40 minutes that they see of you in a beautiful dress in front of cameras at the Royal Albert Hall. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't see anything like, Mary-Jess, great singer, she looks lovely. But they don't see everything that brought you on your journey to that point, right? So, and that's the thing, is, for me, it's like, I try and be real, because I want people to see that it's not just about being on YouTube and singing to a backing track on your computer. You know, like, if you've trod the boards, like some people have trod the boards, and there are people that have trod the boards for much longer than me, and with much more effort than I've ever put in, that it's about the respect for those people. So, you know, when you say something negative to that person, you need to be thinking, mate, because, like, they've worked so hard to get to where they are. And when you attack them, you're attacking their essence, not just the fact you don't like their voice. That's cool. Go and tune in to someone that does, someone that you like. But, you know, it's about being raw and honest, not just for us as artists, but with that respect and that honesty from your followers, supporters, and fans as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that you said earlier really struck a chord with me, because it's something that has come up in conversation with me and my family quite a lot, where you said about the seeds. You can plant so many seeds and you don't know which ones are going to grow. We use the spaghetti at the wall analogy, where you say you throw spaghetti in the wall and you hope something will stick. And it's so difficult to know what is going to stick, but you try everything. And the one thing that has really stuck more than anything else is, since I have started explaining more of the background work, since I've started being more vulnerable, since I've started sharing my stories and my motivations for the things that I do, that has opened up such a deeper relationship with my supporters that I treasure so much now. I really treasure that. I mean, with social media, initially I was kind of afraid of it. I was afraid of the lack of privacy that you can have on there, whereas really, don't see it as a lack of privacy or an invasion. And some people do see it like that. See it as an opportunity to create really meaningful relationships.
Absolutely, to create reality. Absolutely.
Yeah. And friendships. That is something that has really stuck. That's been the seed that's grown the most.
Everything is about balance, right? So if something can be used really detrimentally, it can be used productively and positively as well. So it's about, but like you said, when you're coming from a place, and I think we discussed it on the JJ show earlier as well, was the fact that, you know, when people say, you know, how do you keep going? What's your advice for anyone? I don't say, you know, be true to yourself, love yourself, always wear makeup, always be great, make sure you're wearing, like, it's not, it's like, don't expect anything. Have zero expectations. That's not being a defeatist. It's about, with expectations come disappointments. If you're doing it with the purity of the intent because you love what you do, everything is magical on your journey. I've got a labyrinth in my garden that I use for meditation. It's really quite interesting because it's a waking meditation. So you walk a labyrinth, right? It's really beautiful. And so, but part of it is that the journey is the destination. You know, what you do along that windy path to where your hopes and dreams are is your actual destination. And when you get to your destination, it ain't over then, because then you start walking back. And that part of that journey is also part of everything that you were designed to do. It's magic. It's pure magic, mate. But if you're expecting to be in your goal in 2 years and you're going to do this, and you crawl over people and you prostitute your passions and your desires and your likes in order to get there, that's not magic. You know, the journey is the destination has been my biggest lesson. Or the old, you know, make sure you have time to smell the flowers, right? On that walk. It's the same thing. Just enjoy every moment of becoming. Because sometimes when you get to that goal and that destination, and I've been there on some level with being a pop star, you know, it was just like, when you get to that point that you've always dreamed of, you're like, oh my God, like, all it is work and people shouting at you and people like, it's so not what I expected. Or you meet the person in real life, you know, that you've idolized for years and they're a complete arse. And you're just like, oh my God, I've waited for years. No expectations, no disappointments, just pure love, purity of intent. You do it because you're designed to do it. That's it, you know, that's it. So that's been my biggest lesson.
Such great advice. I hope you're okay with this. I'm going to ask you now to be very raw and honest with us. It's something that you've touched on where you said one person stole or took away that dream of that you've had, that it changed your life. You were a pop star and then one person changed your life for you in a way that you could never have expected. What happened?
Oh my gosh. We worked very, very hard for many, many years before we even started to get sniffs of people wanting us on their record label and everything. I think the statistics were 220,000 people a year applied for a record deal, and only 200 people a year got one. I've had 2 record deals, so I've been very blessed. But the first one, we worked like a trooper. Unfortunately, the management of the time was an alcoholic. And we were asked to sing. We were just about to release our first single. We were so chuffed that we'd signed the deal. We toured with everyone, like everyone that was in our genre at that particular time. We were the headlining act for Steps. We were the headlining act. It was Billy, Bewitched and B-YOND, which was my group that I was in. And we were asked to promote the single on the Saturday night for at the National Lottery. Now, on that particular time, back in the mid-90s, the National Lottery was the biggest headlining gig you are ever going to get in the UK because millions watched it. Unfortunately, my manager phoned up the head of Camelot at the time and said, well, you need to pay the kids for doing this. And they said, well, unless you are Diana Ross or Luther Vandross, you ain't getting paid. He said, then they're not doing it. We lost the deal within 20 minutes of that call. And we had worked for 5 years to get to where we were. So heartbreaking. And then, of course, there was, you know, lots of legal issues about, just loads of things, you know, harassment and stuff like that. It was, yeah, from the management, and we need to continue. And, you know, like, no, it's blown. This is it. This is it. We can't do it, because we weren't getting paid either. So it was like we'd committed to living our lives fully committed to that project, you know. And now on that 1 minute conversation, everything was gone. And it was heartbreaking at the time, you know. So we were a good group. We weren't the best singers, we weren't the best dancers. The girls were stunning dancers and were beautiful looking. And me and Steve, we did what we could, but we were like the cheeky boys at the front. You obviously you probably are too young, but we were a cross between Eternal Mix, take that, 2 black girls, 2 white guys. We faced so much racism. You know, people wouldn't sign us because it was equal black and white. Black don't sell magazines. We need to get another white person in the group. You are a really great group. You're a fantastic group. What's wrong with you? Why has no one signed you? We're not signing you because no one else has. You know, so we suffered, you know, interviews on Capital Radio. So what's it like to be a multiracial group? We were like, oh my God, we are. We didn't even notice. We were just mates. You know, it was unbelievable. You know, but the thing that they said about us, we were like a youth club. Everyone wanted to join. Like, we had fun because we were best mates. And we done really good pop. We worked with the best people in the industry in Europe and in England, like the best. The people that were working with, oh my gosh. Well, Spice Girls, Take That, Eternal, Bananarama, Kylie. You know, we worked with Stock Aitken and Waterman. Like, we worked with just everyone you can think of. We worked with, really. Phenomenal time. And on that one phone call, we lost everything. And the respect, because then I went solo. And when my new management company, my new producers, who were really, really great, went into record labels, they went, Jaden, isn't he signed to that guy? And because they mentioned my old manager, they wouldn't even consider me. Damage had been done by this point. So I lost my second record deal because of him as well.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
your second record deal was as a solo artist? As
a solo artist, yeah. And I was out in Sweden working with, you know, pop, I can't remember the name now. I think it's part of the Max Martin group. So as Backstreet Boys were leaving, I was going in. As I was leaving, Britney was going in. I mean, I was working with the best people in the world, like, for pop music. But I've been tarnished with that brush, unfortunately. You know,
but you weren't with that guy anymore.
But they weren't willing to take that risk. There was some
new management was coming in representing you.
Because there's always someone new.
Oh my
so
God.
why bother with what happens if he raises a lawsuit? What happens if this happens? No, we'll go with someone new. It's a lot easier. There are millions of people sending their demos in every week. We don't need that negative attachment.
Wow.
So I lost everything that I'd ever worked for, you know. And that's when I left London. And because I was getting threats at the time, you know, for my own personal safety.
What?
You know,
why?
Because I'd left because I wasn't going to earn any money. I wasn't going to earn any money as a star, so I wasn't going to pay back the 7 years this person had invested into my life, which wasn't financial, it was time. So I had letters saying, you know, you do need to be careful when you're walking the street at night and stuff like that. So I just left. I went to the West Country, I forgot music and just tried to live a normal life, which, as you know, as an artist, is not possible because every part of your being, whether you like going on stage or not, every part of your being is screaming, this is what you need to be doing. So it goes back to the story about when I was at my lowest, that's when I found my light, and goes back to my song that I wrote on my album, The Light, was because in the darkness of your nighttime, in that lowest possible point, that flicker of that candle, that light is still going to shine. That's when you really find your light sometimes, because there is nothing else you can see. No other distractions. You only wait for that tiny glimmer of hope, because that's all you have left. That's all you have left. So that's what that song was written about.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful, Jaden. That's amazing. And I can understand now where you say, like, your enthusiasm about not being with a record label when your classical crossover stuff was getting all that attention, because suddenly your life could be defined by the opportunities that you created and not by somebody else.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I saw this amazing interview with one of Jay-Z's producers, and he said, like, back in the day, record companies were amazing. Like, you would be paid in advance of hundreds of thousands of pounds, which gets paid back in. I mean, you can spend it. You can buy yourself your Lamborghini and your clothes, but you pay it back, right? It's a loan. It isn't, you know, it's an advance. And that's all great. And your because Woolworths and Our Price and all these people were selling your physical CDs, you know, every Sunday the charts were created, the Saturdays the charts were created for the Sundays, your money didn't really come back from your album sales, but from all your touring, all your merchandising, your money came back, because you pretty much, the record companies had no say in that. That the advance and everything was on record sales, that was it. But because of, you know, it's great to have Spotify, it's great to illegally download stuff on, I do it myself, I still do it, I've got to be honest. You know, to download that track that's your favorite to put onto your player, I understand it, it's so easy. But every time you do that, we never earn a penny from what you're doing. So we cannot continue to do what you're doing. And so what's happened now is record deals are called 360 deals. So you don't get paid in advance, you get signed, and the record companies take 50%, if not more, of everything that is included in the artist that is. Your touring, your merchandising, your downloads, your everything, they own you. And this producer of JC said, in all honesty, it's better you get a bank loan and do it all yourself for the right people. Pay people to produce, pay people to promote, pay people to help manage you, but don't get a record deal, because they take so much for very little work. And that's the thing for me, like, you know, as well as an unsigned artist at the moment, and as someone that, you know, you've got your people that you work with, but when you are totally responsible for doing everything yourself, it is exhausting. It's exciting when you get those positive things happen, like, oh my God, they've noticed me and now I'm going to sing this. Oh my God, this person wants to work with me and now I'm going to sing that. And that's phenomenal. And you've done that. You earned that. You've done that. But for the 362 days when nothing is really happening and those seeds aren't taken, it is destroying at times, you know. But you keep jumping on that bloody porch with that pack of seeds and you keep chucking them in that garden. Because the law of averages, one day another one is going to take that's going to be really beneficial, right?
But that's the hope.
Of course, that's the dream.
Keep trying.
Of course, absolutely. Because if you don't chuck any seeds, that none are going to take.
Yeah.
And going back to a conversation you had earlier on my show as well, about, you know, all those that are like, well, I'm going to wait for the phone to ring. Cool. Wait for the phone to ring, because then I've got more chances. Because while you're inside waiting for you ain't sowing seeds, mate. So I'm going to get into those seeds while you're sitting around doing nothing. It's cool, you know. Yeah, it's.
I was going to ask what seeds you were sowing during that time when you'd run away. You said, was it 7 years you hadn't sung for? Because
yeah.
I remember, like, I've had a record deal. I was signed to Decca for my first album. Now I've got my own record label. Like, I've seen both sides of the coin. And when I was dropped from Decca, I genuinely believed that my dream career that I'd wanted and dreamed of my whole life was over at 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I sulked in my pajamas for about 6 months at least before I realized, hang on a minute, I've still got everything I had. I've still got my voice that they signed me for. Absolutely. Why can't I get out and sow my own seeds? You know, but it took such a long time to see that. And I've got to be honest, I moped in my pajamas with a lot of chocolate and tears for a good 6 months. Like, that's how I felt. So what did you do in your escape time? Because it must have been so terrifying having people threaten you like that.
For me, it was like, I just had to go and I concentrated on my spirituality, the things that I felt made me me. I got away from, like, I've been religious when I was younger, but I kind of got away from all those things because I just lost faith in everything, to be fair. But I think when you get knocked down, that's when you're at your rawest as well. You know, even if you wanted to put up a front, sometimes you can't. And it's kind of at them times that we are the most receptive to other energies and other things that are going on around us. So I think I just spent time growing up spiritually as a human, working out the things that I liked, experimenting, loves, jobs, you know, just what do I like, what edifies me, you know, what works for me, what, you know, I don't have music, I have no other choice, like, what can I do? And then bit by bit, someone goes, oh, my mate's a producer looking for a vocalist, do you still sing? And you're like, no, I don't do it. Oh, but, you know, we can't pay you, but, you know, which is very common in this industry as well. But we can't pay you, but would you put your vocal on? And all of a sudden you're putting a vocal on, you're just like, oh my God, I kind of really enjoyed that. And I didn't want to enjoy that. But I was young then. I was like, now, like, I'm very, very close to being 50 years old, you know. So
you
back in the,
look it. Good job.
feel it, sister, most of the time. Yeah, I've just gone 48 like 2 weeks ago. So, you know, now there are amazing six-packed, beautiful, handsome guys doing it a lot better than what I can do it. You know, so not only, you know, then I was still young like you were at, you know, 20 odd years old, where you still have your whole life of being that person you want to become. One failure doesn't mean everything is failed, you know, but as you continue to grow, there are going to be other down points for you. This is part of the beast that we play with and we work for. But it's about, and that's what I say when I said about the expectations. The thing that keeps me going is I have no expectations anymore. I do it because I love to do what I do. I love singing. I don't like being in public, but I can do it because I've sung in front of over 300 million people worldwide in the 30 years that I've been singing. I've done over, I've worked out something like 4,500 shows in the 30 years that I've sung. You know, so I've done my work, you know, like I'm kind of trained in this field now, which is really quite a blessing because now I don't care. I do it because I love it. And so when I walk out in front of people, I also sometimes feel that I'm just in my front room. So I'm a bit gobby. And there was a stage where I'd done a show a few months ago and I was singing, and halfway through the song, I was like, you know, I don't like this song. So I stopped, turned the track off and said, right, let's do something different. I thought, I'm not getting anything from this. Like, this is, so I'm so real. And people like that because people say, oh my God, you are so funny, Jaden. Like, you know, I was singing and it was really beautiful. And I just kind of said, have you noticed that all these songs are about, I thought they were all love songs because they move me, but they're all about bloody depression, bloody heartache and bloody loss. Have you not, like, why are you getting me to sing this? We need to be singing something happy. So I'll stop and change the whole vibe of the show. Because I was like, oh my God, I've never noticed until now. I was like, God, you're a bunch of depressives, a lot of you. So now I can talk because I don't have that. I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. Like I'm just Jaden and I love singing. I'm a good human being. I'm not the best artist, but I'm a good boy, you know? So now I can be real about everything I do. And a lot of people really don't like that. I've been in a gig and you must have been, probably not because you're phenomenally wonderful at what you do, but you know, you will sing and people talk. And then you turn your track up and you sing louder and people talk louder. And then you got to a stage where you can't even, and I've stopped the track and said, you know what, put on my CD, I'm going home to watch Netflix. I said, do you not, I've been in a grump for 1 week because I'm so scared of doing this. Like, I've been on the verge of tears. I've done like, why do I do this? It scares me. I don't like doing it. I feel sick. And you have shown me zero attention. Like, I'm not asking you to throw flowers in my direction, but respect my time and my energy for being here to entertain you. Put on my CD. I don't need your money. Like, I don't eat for another week, but it's all right. Like, I would rather not eat for a week than have to do this. And because I'm not saying that this is the way that every pop star should be doing it, but this is my realness now. And because of my realness, I get real fans that people support, and people say, oh my God, man, you are hilarious. No one could ever talk the way you talk and get away with it, you know, and do things in a show. Like Michael Jackson would never stop to track. I ain't Michael Jackson, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was still signing. And if I had that money, I would be probably a lot less real, to be fair. Because that record company's paying me $250 to do this gig, $250,000 to do this gig. You know, it's like, what? There's no point for me, you know, bullshitting that people. Like you said about your viewers. It's about being, that connection is when you're real with the people that appreciate your music. If I'm singing something and it's just like, this really is crap, there is no feeling, like the people are not even that interested. I want to do something you enjoy and I enjoy it. So right, let's change this. Let's go in a different direction altogether and do something wonderful for both of us. And that's great. And that's one of the blessings about doing it on your own, because you can do that. And I think sometimes you get a bit more respect for doing that. You can accuse me of a lot of things, but you can never accuse me of being false or a liar. And they're the two things I don't want to be accused of. So for me, I'm all right, you know.
Yeah, it's not just in your stage presence that we can feel that though, and how you're talking. It's also in your music and in your writing. It's a continuous thread throughout everything you do, isn't it?
Wow. Well, I read this book called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandini. A really phenomenal read. I'm not religious. It's a bit too religious for me at times, but the concept is phenomenal. It's life-changing. And I started this group called I Am Nature's Miracle on Facebook because of that, because there was part of this book that was like, there is no one before you, no one now, and there will never be another person that walks like you, talks like you, smiles like you, sings like you, snores like you, has your DNA. There will never be anyone that is Jaden Cornelious and Mary-Jess, ever, ever, ever in the history of humans. You are the only one that is you. You are the greatest miracle in the world. You're one of nature's great. Because of that sperm and that egg, you are you. No one can do you better than you. And when I started to believe that, and I stopped comparing myself to all the other people that have made it, I could appreciate and look up to them for my guidance and as teachers almost. So I would look to how Josh Groban would hold himself on stage and how he would hit that note and how he would, use his ways. But I would make sure I done it Jaden style, because I didn't want to become a prototype of another singer. When I stopped comparing myself and realized that actually I'm the best Jaden Cornelious in the world, because there's only me. My religion is Jadenism, and I'm the only member. Like everything is just about Jaden, because I can only feel, I can only resonate with that I've learned and that I've become, right? And I'm talking too much, I know that, sorry. But we are in an era as well where we are trying to break down diversity. So, we are trying to be accepting of the gay community, accepting of the Muslim community, accepting of the old age community, the single mothers, that everything. We're trying to incorporate everything. But the biggest thing my biggest belief is that while we continuously look at that which we are different, we never look at that which makes us the same. So the minute you try to be someone, the minute you identify yourself by being a community, you are only you're concentrating your energies on that which makes you different. And we've seen with this pandemic, we are really on our own, Jack. You are in your house where you are, I can't touch you, I can't have a coffee, I can't give you a kiss on the cheek, hello. I'm in Mexico, completely different I've got my dogs here, I'm very lucky, but, completely, on my own. And we are very isolated. So if this pandemic has proved nothing, it's kind of proved the fact that we are very isolated individuals. So even more time than ever to stop comparisons to other people, to stop looking at a different community and just starting to create the community of us, humans, life, and not give a flip whether someone is 6'2" or 2'6", or black or yellow or green or pink or blue or gay or straight or trans or a classical singer or a rock singer or a rockabilly singer. Like, it's just, let's enjoy everything that makes us different. How cool is that? Because by doing that, if we're always celebrating our differences, we're completely the same, right? So yeah, so my thing was, I just don't compare anymore. Like, I talk to my dogs the same way as I talk to my next door neighbour's kids. Or, I'm like, come on, mate, I don't think that's responsible. You're digging up my plants. We're all just forms of life and energy, and that is what we are, So it's about time we supported each other and noticed all that makes us the same.
But what you said about comparisons is it's very, very important to remember, especially in the age of being locked in our houses during a lockdown, and the main source of entertainment is on a screen. Like, you've got people looking at social media all the live long day, scroll, and yet what you're looking at the majority of the time is somebody else's show reel. That's what they're prepared to put on social media. So if you're comparing your here and now to somebody else's show reel, firstly, it's not real life anyway.
No, of course.
Secondly, that's not healthy. And thirdly, get off your phone.
Yeah. I said to my friend the other day, I said, really, if all, you know, I've got people on my Facebook, so I've got, nearly 5,000 people on my Facebook, and obviously I get to see all their stories and stuff. And, I'm a gay guy, and I get to see, like a lot of gay guys have added me, and I was thinking, oh my God, like one day, my whole of my stories was just topless men or coffees. And I'm just like, if all you've got going for you is your chest, your biceps, or what you're having for lunch, like, this is really super sad, guys. Like, come on, like, there must be something we can offer that's more than just whether or not you've been doing press-ups in your front room or whether or not your prawn cocktail looks gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to see that as well, on aesthetic level, but it has no meaning. And, I started, like, it's very difficult, as you know, for artists to go out and do gigs. And I live in the middle of the jungle on my own. So my internet is not always very good. So I thought, well, I can't really get away with doing an hour-long show on Facebook Live because there's too many stalls and stops. And so I'm going to do, with a friend of mine, an entertainment show every week. And that's why I started doing a JJ show, because there are thousands of English speakers here in Mexico, but there is nothing on TV or radio for the English speakers of Mexico in English. So I thought, right, I'm going to do the JJ show. And I got together with a friend of mine called Jimena Segovia, and she won. She was in the quarterfinals of the Voice Mexico last year. Incredible rock blues singer as well. And so we started doing an entertainment show and interviewing artists and places of interest and restaurants that are great. To help other people, to give them a bit of profiling while we're in a point, in like a stage of life where we can't go out and see these things, but also to bring entertainment into people's homes while they're stuck doing nothing, And this is going to be a little bit more entertaining than solitaire.
Or scroll of social media.
Absolutely, yeah, which is super addictive as well, right?
I know, it's scary, actually.
Yeah.
The other thing I really wanted to ask you about is something that I know you've been doing, well, since I've known you all your life, is charity has always had such a big part of your life and a big part of your heart. And oh gosh, you've got the Jaden Cornelious Foundation. You do so much for the dogs and cats and animals of Mexico. Like, there's so many charity things that you do. You're always raising money through your concerts. Can you tell us about those charities that are really close to your heart?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of people who do a heck of a lot more than I could ever do. For me, it's like, if you can change or better one person's life, that is sacred, right? And this is where that book, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, really changed my way of living. Because my father died many years ago, and that knocked me for six. And, it was a very, very difficult time in my life on my 21st birthday. And so I've spent my whole entire life dealing with mental health, dealing with depression, anxieties. And sometimes I deal with it great, but sometimes it bites my bum as well. And I don't find it quite as easy. So I've spent a lot of my adult life feeling like crap, not necessarily not wanting to continue, but not knowing how to continue. Like, what the hell am I doing? And basically, when I was reading this book, it basically had said that when you take the emphasis off of yourself and look at life, not what's in it for me, but what can I bring to someone else? What can I give rather than what can I get? Life will take on a completely different energy. And it did. I'd done loads and loads of charity work as an artist because I was always singing at HIV conventions and stuff like that. So, I was always supporting whatever I could support. I've never ever had money. So, and I think I've said to you before as well that, there's been weeks where I've had 3 weeks of only been able to eat tortillas and beans here because, that vein continues of still having no money. But I have a form of talent and I have time. So I can't give financially to causes, but I'll come and do a show for you any day of the week. Because if I can help that way, I'm giving back, And so I've always, with the non-comparisons and the being real, I've tried to develop this way of looking at life is, what can I give? What can I pay forward? And so JC Foundation was formed 11 years ago, and it was suggested to me by a fundraising monk, by a Tibetan monk who had been ordained by the Dalai Lama. And he was one of the only nomadic monks and a great friend of mine at the time. And he said, you need to set up the Jaden Cornelious Foundation, and you need to be doing what you're doing, but you need to be doing this under your name. And then, of course, you get people like, well, he's only doing this to improve his singing career. He's only doing this to get notification of his singing career. So I thought, do you know what? Even if I'm still doing something. I've been doing fundraising 10 years before I even considered the Jaden Cornelious Foundation. So I thought, you know what? I'm stopping the Jaden Cornelious. I'm starting JC Fundraising, and it's going to be a group of people and trying to encourage groups of people to get with their mates and say, right, what can we bring to our community? So JC Fundraising was birthed 10 years ago. And it's basically, we have 2 here in Mexico. We have, I think, 3 in London, 1 in Australia. And it's groups of people that get with a bunch of like-minded individuals, say, right, what can we pay forward? What can we bring? And my dream is that in every town, in every city, in every country, in every part of the world, there will be satellite offices of JC Fundraising, groups of people that just go, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work with my mates and we're going to do a car boot sale for the local refuge, or I'm going to do a sponsored silence for my kid at school. And while it's part of JC Fundraising, we have a really, really great reputation because we've always been transparent. We've always been as close to 100% giving as we can. So I think we are 99.6% giving. So everything we get, we give out. We very rarely take any administrative costs. We might have to pay for a hall or a venue sometimes. That's why I'm saying 99.6. We never take wages and will never take wages. It's about us giving back. So if anyone's watching that wants to be part of this or wants to set up their own, you're more than welcome. Come and speak to me, because I would love to encourage groups of people that you can give back in any way, shape or form, even if it means you and 3 mates go and clean your local park of litter once a month. Do it under JC Fundraising, wherever you are in the world, JC Fundraising Sheffield, and we will help support and promote what you're doing, you know. And here in Mexico, I don't do as much as I probably could because I'm on a little bit of a selfish discovery at the moment. I've been a little bit drained of everything, and I'm kind of thinking that I need to spend a bit more time in being me and discovering who I am here. You know, like I was continuing the Jaden Cornelious that I brought with me from England, and that isn't something is possible in another country, another culture, another language, another everything. So I've spent the last kind of year on really kind of getting to grips with who the Mexican Jaden Cornelious, but who the Mexican Jaden Cornelious is, and trying to find out who I am as a human being, because it has been the most challenging time of my existence. But what I have done is I've tried to do what I can do. So if I can do fundraisers for local refuges or for local causes, I will still do them. I also created, well, I adopted a couple of animals because I love animals, actually, most times more than humans. They're phenomenal, such innocent beings with the most phenomenal gratitude. It's unbelievable and completely real. If my dog don't like me, it's going to bite me. If it doesn't think it likes me, it's going to pee up my leg. Do you know what I mean? If it don't want anything to do with me, it's running back for the streets. Like, they are just so real. They are my inspiration on so many levels as well. But so I started to say them, and then things got very difficult in my life and very challenging when my reason for being here ended. And I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck. So I was a big fan of the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel movies, like just the best. Like, oh, I get goosebumps even when I think of them. Just class movies with the best actors on the planet for me, just really. But anyway, I started the Best Hibiscus Hotel for the elderly and beautiful dogs. And I created their forever home, because they're not going to be adopted out. I'm going to look after them till the end of their lives. But a forever home, I have 20 spaces available. So I have 12 dogs and 8 cats, and it's a forever home for these animals. Now, there are 20 more spaces in other adoption places now, because I've taken 20. So that means the people, you know, that want to adopt can still adopt. So it gives 20 more animals on the street a chance of being adopted somewhere else. It also gives these 20 the best life possible, because I will feed them and look after them before I do myself. You know, they are my responsibility, and you know, they are amazing, amazing creations. And so I started the best hibiscus, because we have millions of them here, hotel for the elderly and beautiful dogs and cats as well. And so I've started that. So I have a forever home for the street animals that I've rescued. which sometimes is difficult because they have illnesses. They've come from such shitty backgrounds, normally due to the neglect of us humans. Some horrendous stories they've been involved in. So, you know, because of their upbringing, there are physical and medical needs, and it's not cheap here. And I earn my money from singing, mate, of which there is none coming in at the moment. So I've had to learn dog grooming as an art, so I can do that, which trickles in a bit of money. I also have a company that does cremations of pets as well. So I have been doing animal cremations for last year and funerals for last year, because my garden is beautiful and it's very tranquil and very peaceful. You can sit by a koi pond while watching hummingbirds and being surrounded by flowers to give, you know, with my animals as well. So I think that adds a different energy, and, you know, so that's what I've been doing to generate income to be able to pay for me and the dogs. Sometimes it's not that easy to pay for me and the dogs. I started the dog grooming was because there was a month period where I got no cremations in COVID, and I had no money to buy food. Like, I had nothing. I can only eat what I can afford to raise the money for. It's not, I'm not a rich gringo that lives in the jungle. I am, you know, I'm rich in building and blocks, and I have land, but I have no income. So I could only eat tortillas and packets of beans for 3 weeks until I got my next cremation. I was like, we can't do this, Jay. We've got to sort someone. I don't have the dog grooming. And, you know, in England, you need 2 strings to your bow. In Mexico, in all honesty and seriousness, you need a bleeding orchestra, because everything can fail at any time, really. So I sing, I do weddings, I do fundraising, I do the dog grooming, I do cremations, I do meditation courses, I have an Airbnb. I have to find ways to generate income, and still some weeks I have no income. Wow. So it's exhausting, mate. But you know what? It's life. And like I said before, the journey is the destination. I can walk out at night and walk my labyrinth, and I'm surrounded by millions of fireflies. Millions. It's magical. So there is I can go out and sit on my step with my cup of coffee and watch hummingbirds on my plants that I've planted by nicking someone's cutting from their front garden 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So, because I couldn't afford to buy plants at the time. So I've created a bit of a, and I also have my garden and my pets and my Airbnb on Facebook as well. It's called the Garden Cottage. Because I'm just trying to create a place that's just pure heaven, really, just a place where it's just beauty, right? Because the more we see beauty, the more we find beauty.
It does sound beautiful. It sounds so heavenly, and we're going to have to put a link to that below in the description, as well as.
You've got to come and visit. I'm going to keep on at you until I get you out here, girl. One day.
I would love that. It sounds so beautiful, and we're definitely going to put all the links below. So Jaden's Fundraising, we'll put a link to that below as well. So if anybody does feel like being generous, or if you do fancy setting up your own fundraising event when we're able to, and when it's COVID safe, then that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. But it's for me, it's not about the money. It's about you can also give to a charity by showing awareness. You can go and you and your friend can go and clean the leaves off the old lady's door down the road because she can't get out, she's scared of slipping. You can go and have a smile afternoon. So you physically go and walk past people and you smile at them, because for one person, you might be the only human they've seen in 5 days. And that smile is the only person that has recognized their existence in that time. You know, so it's not just about shed loads of money for great charities that are already established. Sometimes the little things, and when you're with a group of people, when you're with your besties, and it's like, right, we're going to go into the park, we're going to pick up every bit of litter that we can find, and we're going to smile at every person over the age of 50 and say good morning. That is life-changing, mate, to some people, you know? So,
I love that. I completely love that. I hope everybody watching will be inspired to do something.
Well, I hope so. It'd be great. It would be great.
Yeah, something wonderful like that. And Jaden, you're such an amazing lesson of inspiration and resilience. Thank you so much for sharing your rawness and your amazing stories with us.
Thank you, sweetheart.
So grateful.
Much respect to you. Much respect to me. Like, you know, working with you, you know, as an artist, and you know, knowing you and following your social media as a mate, you keep me going as well, sister. Honestly. So, you know, Big up to you.
Well, thanks so much, Jaden. Go and give all your animals a big cuddle from me, and I will look forward to catching up with you again soon. But thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
For sure. Take care. Stay warm.
Thanks.
See you later, darling.